Welcome everyone to CEO's Magazine series of one-on-one interviews with CEOs, data leaders, and key influencers. I'm your host, Robert Lutton, Vice President, Sandhill Consultants, and I'm coming to you today from Toronto, Canada, working with the CEO Magazine, MIT CEO IQ Symposium, and International Society of Chief Data Officers. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Pam Dillon, who is the co-founder and CEO of Preferabli. Welcome, Pam.
Hello, good morning.
Pam, I got to tell you right off the bat that when I was asked to do this interview, it struck me as one of the most interesting and fascinating interviews I've been asked to moderate to date. So I'd really like to thank you for that opportunity.
My pleasure.
So in doing some research, right, we're talking to you today about how Preferabli has managed to become the leading AI-driven B2B2C personalization and recommendation software platform. And I know that you've started with the wine, beer, and spirits industry, focusing on individual consumer preference. So for our listeners, could you explain exactly what Preferabli is?
Sure. Preferabli is a way for businesses to market and sell to consumer preference. The basic assumption is that people would like to buy things that they like the taste of. And with a million wines in the world, a million beers in the world, and tens of thousands of spirits in the world, we thought that a problem worth solving. I will say we built the platform from the very beginning to imagine sensory consumer products broadly. This is not a superficial build. If we had wanted quick money, we never would have built it in this way. So the platform from the very earliest days, the intellectual property development from the very earliest days had imagined all of sensory consumer products. We started with wine and spirits, full disclosure, because I love them. The team loved them. It's always better, easier to work, especially in the context of early stage software development. It's better to work with something that you deeply love because you are going to be around it for a long time. And that's exactly the case with us here. It was really, though, always from the very beginning viewed as a point of entry, sensory consumer products being such a very, very large market.
I don't think you'd find anyone disagreeing that doing something that you love, especially wine, spirits, and beer, is definitely something that a lot of people would be eager to enter into that market. But with all the wonder and the beauty and the diversity of the wines, I think you've talked about thousands of wines, beers, and spirits in the world. I wonder if you can explain how your AI assists in selecting a specific offering to your consumer's palate or their needs.
Yeah, so from the very beginning, we imagined a platform that would help merchants wherever they were across the supply chain sell more precisely to their consumers. We imagined from the very beginning to ascertain the presence and the absence of hundreds of different characteristics that interplay and that effectively define and describe preference. And so it's the core of our technology, it's the core of our software, having to do with how things taste. It sits far more broadly, though, in the context of a personalization platform, because context, where a merchant is in building its journey for its consumers, is really important, and it's really important for us to meet them where they are in their journey, to give them the modules that they need to build their journey. So we have three basic groups of software. The first group is onboarding software. So this is the software that brings someone into a personalization platform. It is highly specific to a product. It is expert with respect to a product. This can be used to not only onboard existing customers into a platform, but new customers into a platform. The second of the two groups of functionalities have to do with one-to-one personalization. So from the very beginning, we went beyond segmentation, we went beyond collaborative filtering, crowdsourcing, groupthink. It was always one-to-one, one person at a time, one product at a time. And actually the largest group of modules we have sit in that second group because they are the most valuable, not only to sales and marketing as a general matter, but lifetime consumer value for the longer term. And then the third group we think of as platform technologies. So this allows someone to focus on what they do well. We have platforms for marketplaces. We have elements for platforms, anything from labels to technical information. And so we think that as rounding out larger or medium-sized, even smaller-sized businesses that have no desire to build this on their own.
I'm sure that a lot of organizations will realize that the whole preferability and the preference platform that you're developing will allow them to reach their markets one-on-one. I'm really interested in how you could kind of explain how Preferabli has been able to accomplish this fantastic feat. What platform, what technology kind of did you use? Do you use any kind of artificial intelligence, machine learning? Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. So the state of the art before we came to it was practically non-existent in the wine and spirits industry. So I'll start there.
I wonder why. Right?
Everything had to be created from the very beginning. We really didn't have an alternative. That was the hard part. It was also the opportunity. At the same time, we sat on the shoulders of mostly academicians and some people who were broadly in the trade with respect to recommendation systems. And sort of a brief history of time around recommendation systems is actually pretty straightforward. So, in the past, there had been segmentation that eventually got expanded, broadened, deepened, made faster, the operations made more quickly by automation. But that about 10, 15 years ago went away as the state of the art, and various forms of recommendation systems started to come into play. All of them in our field, and most of them across all of consumer, are what I will call collaborative filtering. And technically speaking, collaborative filtering uses one person's opinion as a reference point for another person's recommendation. And coming into this a priori, we thought that made absolutely no sense whatsoever. And so from the very beginning, we knew we had to work toward something that was content-based. So there are two basic kinds of recommendation systems, collaborative or crowdsourcing, and content-based, which are rooted in data, something I know you all think about a lot. And so the data could have been built by structuring data from the internet if it existed. That's a machine learning technology called deep learning. And we looked at the possibility of that. And there are some elements indeed of what we do that tap into that technology. But the center of our intellectual property is content-based with our own data. So from the very beginning, these were algorithms that were homegrown, each line of code written by us. This is not an off-the-shelf neural network, because even today, the neural networks don't take into consideration, don't approach the problem in the way that we wanted to solve it. And so we had to write all of the code from the beginning. And all of our patents, all 10 of our patents, work off of that point of departure, which is and has always been that we start with an individual preference profile as a point of departure for a recommendation system. So technically speaking, before today, recommendation systems, they used data reference points only. They did not start with an individual preference profile. They rationalized data patterns on their own. And so starting with a preference preference profile not only was novel, it was also extremely useful because it allowed us to understand preference from the get-go, which made all of the recommendation technologies ever more accurate.
We really appreciate you coming, giving us a chance to share your knowledge and experience in the AI, machine learning, and the patents that you put out there, and the personal preference space. We really appreciate it. We think that's the future where AI is going, and we'd like to thank you for your time today, Pam.
It is my pleasure. Thank you.